May our Father, Son, and Holy Spirit with us. When we finish up the book of Hosea. Now, when I would restore my people's fortunes, when I would heal Israel, the guilt of Ephraim reveals itself, and the wickedness of Samaria, for they have acted treacherously, the thieves breaking in, and bands raiding outside. And they do not consider that I remember all their wickedness, why their misdeeds have been all around them. They have been ever before me. In malice they make a king marry, and officials in treachery. They commit adultery, all of them, like an oven fired by a baker, who desists from stoking only, from the kneading of the dough to his leavening. The day they made our king sick, and officials with the poison of wine, he gave his hand to traitors, for they approached their ambush with their hearts like an oven. Through the night, their baker has slept. In the morning, it flares up like a blazing fire. They all get heated like an oven, and devour their rulers. None of them calls to me. All their kings have fallen by their hand. Ephraim is among the peoples. He is rotting away. Ephraim is like a cake, incapable of turning. Strangers have consumed his strength, but he has taken no notice. Also, Moab is scattered over him, but he has taken no notice. Though Israel's pride has been humbled before his very eyes, they have not turned back to their Elohim, our Father in heaven. They have not sought him in spite of everything. Instead, Ephraim has acted like a silly dove with no mind. They have appeared to Egypt. They have gone to Assyria. When they go, I will spread my net over them. I will bring them down like birds of the sky. I will chastise them when I hear their bargaining. Woe to them for straying from me, destruction to them. For rebelling against me, for I was their redeemer. Yet they have plotted treason against me, but they did not cry out to me sincerely. As they lay wailing, they debauch over new grain and new wine. They are faithless to me. I strengthened their arms, and they plot evil against me. They come back, they have been of no use, like a slack bow. Their officers shall fall by the sword, because of the stammering of their tongues. Such shall be the result of their jabbering in the land of Egypt. Put a ram's horn to your mouth, like an eagle over the house of our Father in heaven, because they have transgressed my covenant and been faithless to my teaching. Israel cries out to me, O my Elohim, we are devoted to you. Israel rejects what is good, and enemies shall pursue him. They have made kings, but not with my sanction. They have made officers, but not of my choice. Of their silver and gold they have made themselves images to their own undoing. He rejects you, Cap Samaria. I am furious with them. Will they never be capable of purity? For it was Israel's doing. It was only made by a joiner. It is not a God. No, the cap of Samaria shall be reduced to splinters. They sow wind, and they shall reap whirlwind. Standing stalks devoid of ears, and yielding no flower. If they do yield any, strangers shall devour it. Israel is bewildered. They have now become among the nations like an unwanted vessel, like a lonely wild donkey, for they have gone up to Assyria. Ephraim has courted friendship, and while they are courting among the nations, there I will hold them fast, and they shall begin to diminish in number. For the burden of king and officers, for Ephraim has multiplied altars for guilt. His altars have redounded to his guilt. The many teachings I wrote for him have been treated as something alien. When they present sacrifices to me, it is but flesh for them to eat. Our Father in heaven has not accepted them. Behold, he remembers their iniquity. He will punish their sins. Back to Egypt with them. Israel has ignored his maker and built temples, and Jehudah has fortified many cities, so I will set fire to the cities, and it shall consume their fortresses. Rejoice not, O Israel, as other peoples exult, for you have strayed away from your Elohim. You have loved a harlot's fee by every threshing floor of new grain. Threshing floor and winepress shall not join them. And the new wine shall betray her. They shall not be able to remain in the land of our Father in heaven, but Ephraim shall return to Egypt, and shall eat unclean food in Assyria. It shall be for them like the food of mourners. All who partake of which are defiled, they will offer no libations of wine to our Father in heaven. And no sacrifices of theirs will be pleasing to him, but their food will be only for their hunger. It shall not come into the house of our Father in heaven. What will you do about feast days, about the festivals of our Father in heaven? Behold, they have gone from destruction with the silver they treasure. Egypt shall hold them fast. Moth shall receive them in burial. Weeds are theirs. Weeds are their heirs. Prickly shrubs occupy their old homes. The days of punishment have come. For your heavy guilt, the days of requital have come. Let Israel know it. The prophet was distraught. The inspired man, driven mad by constant harassment. Ephraim watches for my Elohim. As for the prophet, fowlers' snares are on all his paths. Harassment in the house of his Elohim. They have been as grievously corrupt as in the days of Gibeah. He will remember their iniquity. He will punish their sins. I found Israel as pleasing as grapes in the wilderness. Your fathers seemed to me like the first fig to ripen on a fig tree. But when they came to Baal Peor, they turned aside to shamefulness. Then they became as detested as they had been loved from birth, from the womb, from conception. Ephraim's glory shall be like birds that fly away. Even if they rear their infants, I will bereave them of men. Woe to them indeed when I turn away from them. It shall go with Ephraim as I have seen it go with Tyre, which was planted in a meadow. Ephraim too must bring out his children to slaves. Give them, O our Father in heaven, give them what? Give them a womb that miscarries and shriveled breast. All their misfortune began at Gilgal, for there I disowned them for their evil deeds. I will drive them out of my house. I will accept them no more. All their officials are disloyal. Ephraim is stricken. Their stock is withered. They can produce no fruit. Even if they do bear children, I will slay their cherished offspring. My Elohim rejects them, because they have not obeyed him, and they shall go wandering among the nations. Israel is a ravaged vine, and its fruit is like it. When his fruit was plentiful, he made altars aplenty. When his land was bountiful, cult pillars abounded. Now that his bows are broken up, he feels his guilt. He himself pulls apart his altars, smashes his pillars. Truly now we have no king, for since we do not fear our Father in heaven, what can a king do to us? So they conclude agreements and make covenants with false oaths. Injustice degenerates into poison weeds, breaking out on the furrows of the fields. The inhabitants of Samaria fear for the calf of Beth-aven, indeed its people, and priestlings whose joy it once was, mourn over it for the glory that is departed from it. It too shall be brought to Assyria as tribute to a patron king. Ephraim shall be chagrined. Israel shall be dismayed because of his plans. Samaria's monarchy is vanishing like foam upon water. Ruin shall be the shrines of Beth-aven. That sin of Israel, thorns and thistles shall grow on their altars. They shall call to the mountains, bury us to the hills, fall on us. You have sinned more. You have sinned more, O Israel, than in the days of Gibeah. There they stand as at Gibeah. Shall they not be overtaken by a war upon scoundrels, as peoples gather against them? When I chose them, I broke them in, harnessing them for 2 furrows. Ephraim became a trained heifer, but preferred to thresh. I placed a yoke upon her sleek neck. I will make Ephraim do advanced plowing. Judah shall do main plowing. Jacob shall do final plowing. Sow righteousness for yourselves. Reap the fruits of goodness. Break for yourselves bedtimes, fresh ground of seeking our Father in heaven, so that you may obtain a teacher of righteousness. You have plowed wickedness. You have reaped iniquity, and you shall eat the fruits of treachery, because you relied on your way, on your host of warriors. But the din of war shall arise in your own people, and all your fortresses shall be ravaged. As Beth Arbel was ravaged by Salman on a day of battle, when mothers and babes were dashed to death together, this is what Bethel has done to you for your horrible wickedness. At dawn shall Israel's monarchy utterly perish. I fell in love with Israel when he was still a child, and I have called him my son ever since Egypt. Thus were they called, but they went their own way. They sacrificed to Baalim and offered to carved images. I have pampered Ephraim, taking them in my arms, but they have ignored my healing care. I drew them with human ties, with cords of love, but I seemed to them as one who imposed a yoke on their jaws, though I was offering them food. No, they returned to the land of Egypt, and Assyria is their king, because they refused to repent. A sword shall descend upon their towns and consume their limbs and devour them because of their designs. For my people persist in its defection. From me, when it is summoned upward, it does not rise at all. How can I give you up, O Ephraim? How surrender you, O Israel? How can I make you like Admah, render you like Zeboim? I have had a change of heart. All my tenderness is stirred. I will not act on my wrath. Will not turn to destroy Ephraim. For I am Elohim, not man, the Holy One in your midst. I will not come in fury. Our Father in heaven will roar like a lion. and they shall march behind him when he roars. His children shall come fluttering out of the west. They shall flutter from Egypt, like sparrows from the land of Assyria, like doves, and I will settle them in their homes, declares our Father in heaven. Ephraim surrounds me with deceit, the house of Israel with guile, but Jehudah stands firm with Elohim, and is faithful to the Holy One. Ephraim tends the wind and pursues the gale. He is forever adding illusion to calamity. Now they make a covenant with Assyria. Now oil is carried to Egypt. Our Father in heaven once indicted Yehuda and punished Yaakov for his conduct, requited him for his deeds. In the womb he tried to supplant his brother. Grown to manhood, he struggled with a divine being. He struggled with an angel and prevailed. The other had to weep and implore him at Bethel. Yaakov would meet him there to commune with him. Yet our Father in heaven, the Elohim of hosts, must be invoked as our Father in heaven. You must return to your Elohim, practice goodness and justice, and constantly trust in your Elohim. A trader who uses false balances, who loves to overreach, Ephraim thinks, I have become rich, I have gotten power, all my gains do not amount to an offense, which is real guilt. I, our Father in heaven, have been your Elohim ever since the land of Egypt. I will let you dwell in your tents again, as in the days of old, when I spoke to the prophets. For I granted my many visions and spoke parables through the prophets. As for Gilead, it is worthless and to no purpose. Have they been sacrificed in oxen and Gilgal? The altars of these are also like stone heaps upon a plowed field. Then Jacob had to flee to the land of Aram. There Israel served for a wife he had to guard sheep. But when our Father in heaven brought Israel up from Egypt, it was through a prophet. They were guarded. Ephraim gave bitter offense, and his father cast his crimes upon him, and requited him for his mockery, and his master cast his crimes upon him, and requited him for his mockery. Okay. When Ephraim spoke piety, he was exalted in Israel, but he incurred guilt through Baal, and so he died. And now they go on sinning. And now they go on sinning. They have made them molten images, idols by their skill, from their silver or wally, the work of craftsmen. Yet for these they appoint men to sacrifice. They are wont to kiss calves. Assuredly they shall be like morning clouds, like dew so early gone, like chaff whirled away from the threshing floor, and like smoke from a lattice. Only I, our Father in heaven, have been your Elohim ever since the land of Mitzrayim. You have never known a true Elohim but me. You have never had a helper other than me. I looked after you in the desert, in a thirsty land. When they grazed, they were sated. When they were sated, they grew haughty, and so they forgot me. So I am become like a lion to them, like a leopard I lurk on them, like a bear robbed of her young. I attack them and rip open the casing of their hearts. I will devour them like a lion. The beasts of the field shall mangle them. You are undone, O Israel. You have no help but me. Where now is your king? Let him save you. Where are the chieftains in all your towns, whom you demanded? Give me a king and officers. I give you kings in my ire, and take them away in my wrath. Ephraim's guilt is bound up, his sin is stored away. Pangs of childbirth assail him, and the babe is not wise. For this is no time to survive at the birth stool of babes. From Sheol itself I will save them, redeem them from very death. Where, O death, are your plagues, your pestilence? Where, O Sheol? Revenge shall be far from my thoughts. For though he flourish among reeds, a blast of wind of our Father in heaven shall come blowing up from the wilderness. His fountain shall be parched, his spring dried up. The wind shall plunder treasures, every lovely object. Samaria must bear her guilt, for she has defiled her Elohim. They shall fall by the sword. Their infants shall be dashed to death, and their woman with child ripped open. Return, O Israel, to our Father in heaven, your Elohim, for you have fallen because of your sin. Take words with you and return to our Father in heaven. Say to him, forgive all guilt and accept what is good. Instead of bulls, we will pay the offering of our lips. Assyria shall not save us. No more will we ride on steeds. Nor ever again will we call our handiwork our God, since in you alone orphans find pity. I will heal their affliction. Generously will I take them back in love, for my anger has turned away from them. I will be to Israel like dew. He shall blossom like a lily. He shall strike root like a Lebanon tree. His boughs shall spread out far. His beauty shall be like the olive trees, his fragrance like that of Lebanon. They who sit in his shade shall be revived. They shall bring to life new grain. They shall blossom like the vine. His scent shall be like the wine of Lebanon. Ephraim shall say, what more shall I do? What more have I to do with idols? When I respond and look to him, I become like a verdant cypress. Your fruit is provided by me. He who was wise will consider these words. He who was prudent will take note of them. For the paths of our Father in heaven are smooth. The righteous can walk on them, while sinners stumble on them. That's beautiful. I mean, so man, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, rule. This is the book of Hosea. Let's keep